this is Yuri Kasdorp, back again with another track guide for Coach Dave Academy. Today we're at Fuji again, but this time in the VRS GT series for iRacing Week 3. So this is the first time we'll have a really popular series at the Fuji track. I can't wait to show you how the track drives. Right, so we're coming up to the last corner here. Got race fuel on now. If you're in qualifying, you want to have a really good run out of the corner here. I'll just take a racing line. Coming up to a really long start-finish straight here. Will be interesting to see who's going to trim out the car for downforce, who's going to keep that downforce on and try to make up the time in second sector. I'm on fairly high downforce now, so what I want to do is look at the 100 sign and use that as a braking reference. I'm going to brake just before the 100 sign as well. So going into here just before. Get it over to the inside, use the outside and exit here. Turn 2, we want to be looking to hit the bollard on the inside. Want to aim for that. Want to have steady inputs here. Keep the car turning. Keep the car rotating. Get to the outside. Very small inputs here. If you're too aggressive with the brakes, the car will spin on you. The rear will get too loose. Coming up to the really slow chicane here. I use the tire marks on the track as a brake reference. Try to keep your speed up through here. Coming up to the tricky last sector. Let's try to keep it again very steady. Keep the car on the inside here. I try to not run too wide. Last corner, want to have a balance between a good exit and not losing too much time on the entry. Run it all the way to the outside. And then we only have to run up to the line left. That's the lap around the new Fuji track and the Mercedes GT3 2020 version. So here we are at the start of the lap. Having a look from the outside cam, having a deeper look into the lines that we need to take. Again, turn 1 on this downforce setting. I want to brake just before the 100 sign and I want to line the car up on this white line on the left here so that we're braking exactly in a straight line. So line the car up, braking just before the 100 and trying to get to the inside here. Focus on getting a good exit. You can get a bit closer to the inside apex there, but running a bit wide and keeping the speed up is not too bad either. Running up to turn 2, you want to use this curb on the right side and then have a look at this cone on the inside here. This is what you want to even hit. You can take quite a bit of track on the inside, meaning you can turn in quite aggressively and try to really aim for this bollard here. So place your car on the outside curb, get as close to the gas here as you dare. Close to the grass as you dare, hit the brakes and try to aim for this bollard here. You can see, really close to it. I think you can even hit it without getting the off track. And then for the exit here, we're going to look at going quite wide and being back onto the track by the time this curve ends. With back onto the track, I think you need at least 2 tires back into the track. There's a small bump here with the LMP2 that we wanted to avoid. I found that in the Mercedes you can run over it without getting punished too much. So you can run a bit wide in the middle here as long as you're back here before the curb ends. Then we get to turn 3, it's a really tricky corner. If you're too heavy on the inputs here, meaning too much on throttle or too much on the brakes, the weight change of the car will be too big and you'll lose grip. So what you need to do is go off the throttle quite steady and then keep very small input changes on your pedals. So we want to go off the throttle, a bit of brake even to get it rotated. But again, having small inputs here, if you go too much on throttle, too much on the brakes, it will upset the car too much and you want to keep that front loaded as much as you can. Try to hit this curb here on the inside. And then you can run a bit wide here, but you want to make sure that you run it over back to the right side curb again, getting ready for turn 4. And this one's very tricky here because you want to run a bit wide to keep the speed through turn 3, but it's going to be very tricky because you cannot brake in a straight line. What that's going to do is going to make the rear very unloaded and is going to come around on you very quick if you're not careful. So into this corner, what you want to do is get ready here and have very small brake input. If your brake input is too big here, the rear will get too unloaded and you'll have problems with the rear sticking to the front. So you want to have very small inputs. Make sure you go in not too fast. Get a good exit speed. Try to be in throttle early. On the exit here again, you can run quite wide. You need to be before this green thing. You need to be back on onto the track. Then go to the back straight. You want to keep tightest line possible. And unlike the LMP2, where it was tricky to find the braking spot here, the GTs can brake a bit later. And I found that looking at this marker here, this where these two tire tracks combine or find each other and then go away from each other, this is what I use for my braking point. And the start of stage, you'll be able to brake exactly at this point, and once the tires go, you'll have to brake a bit before that. So let's look how it looks on the inside. We're coming into here, and we use this point here as a braking point. So exactly when we come up here, we want to look at this point here and then use that, because there's no reference around here at all except for on the track. What that will mean is that when you're behind another car, you'll have to be very careful because this will be blocked. What you can use then, or try to use then, is the inside access road like we did with the LMP2 car. Want to brake here. Go from the outside cam again. Try to turn in late and set up this next chicane for a good exit here. Want to carry the inside here. Get as close to this elevation on the curb as you can without actually hitting it. And then again, try to carry a good exit from here. I found that these anti-cuts here, if you run over this too much, the car can bounce up and maybe even give you some bonnet damage. If you run over the edge of it, so with only 2 tires and not too much more, you can run over it, like I do here, without the car really moving much at all. You just need to be careful of running over it more than that. But if we can use a bit of this sausage curb like we do here, we can just go a bit earlier on throttle, a bit wider on the exit without getting too punished for it. Now we get to by far the most tricky section on this track. I think maybe even by far the most tricky section on almost any track, the last couple corners. And again, it's going to be very tricky because we're braking in an arc into the corners here. So the rear is going to be very loose into the corner, and especially with the new Mercedes. On medium speed and high speed, the car might be very stable into corners, but low speed, the rear can get very tricky on entry. So what we need to do here is be very careful with our downshifts. If you downshift too early, that engine brake is going to come on too early, and it's going to make the rear too unstable and get it to slide. So what we want to do is only downshift to second gear. You see, I'm only downshifting to second gear here. If you start to do it earlier, the rear is going to be more upset. If you try to downshift here and the rear is still too upset, try to downshift even a bit later. At the end of the stint, if you're really struggling with the rear, maybe even keeping it a third here is a good idea instead of going to second. Then we want to keep it tight. Get close to these anti-cuts here. Again, you can slightly run over them, but I did get bonnet damage one time running over these. So you can run over them, but be careful not doing it too much. Then we want to follow the arc of the inside curb here. And we got quite a wide track here, but I found that in the Mercedes at least, not running to the complete outside, but keeping a tight line was faster. Maybe it works because the exit that we have from this corner, the next straight, is very short, the run up to the last corner. So what I try to do is keep it quite tight, not use all of the track on the outside here, and just keep one arc going. Try to line the car for the exit. Again, we can slightly use these anti-cuts, the same as before, but in this corner is not as needed because there's a small run to the last corner. And then the last corner is very tricky finding your line. Again, if you go from the inside cam, the track here is super wide. You can go like on the inside, you can go middle of the track, or you can go completely outside. And the further outside you go, the more you leave that inside open, the more you leave yourself vulnerable to attacks, but the better your exit will be coming onto the straight. So if you are behind someone, you want to attack someone onto the main straight, it might be a very good idea to run very wide to this corner, try to set up for a good exit. If someone is behind you, might be good to run a bit of a tighter line to make sure that you're protected from dives into the last corner. If you're running alone, I like to take a line about in the middle and try to have a balance between not losing too much time in the entry and still getting a good exit. What that looks like is I try to take it about in the middle against slow, small braking inputs. If you're braking too much, the rear can get loose. The rear is getting loose, try to catch it with a bit of throttle. Found that going quite early on the throttle, but not too much, makes the rear a lot more stable here. And now what we're looking for is this inside sausage curb again. We want to barely miss that. I never really hit it, we want to barely miss that. And then set up for the best exit we can. These sausage again, you can hit the first part of it without the car getting too upset. And then all we focus on from this point on is trying to get a good exit onto the straight. So I want to line the car up as quickly as you can, full throttle as quickly as you can, and straighten the car up as fast as you can. And then we have to run up to the straight again. Very long straight, a lot of attacking opportunities into turn 1. Interesting track. I hope everyone learned a bit, and see you guys in the next one. Right, so next week will be the first week that the VRS series will be here. First time a really popular series on iRacing will be on Fuji. Will be very interesting to see how the racing works out. I hope you guys learned something. Wish everyone good luck getting ready for this week. If you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and see you guys for the next video.